we now welcome to the party on the Deseret First Credit Union Hotline, longtime friend of the program, David Nixon, former NFL and BYU linebacker. Dave, what's up, man?
Yeah, it just feels right. It feels right to be on the phone with you guys today.
Yeah, it's a good way to start the week, man.
We're almost there.
Hey, we asked Taysom Hill, your brother-in-law, if he had adequately embarrassed you on the golf course this football offseason. He laughed and told us to ask you. So what's your answer to this, David?
All right, so here's the thing. Taysom and I haven't been able to play that much this offseason, but we are playing this afternoon. And listen, it's well documented. He's a much better golfer than I am. However, I tell him, listen, if we want to get some friendly wagers, you got to use your driver, because the driver, he doesn't quite have dialed in. That's why he uses his 2-iron off the tee and still crushes like 300 yards with the 2-iron.
Wow.
So we'll see. We'll see if I can convince him to use the driver, and then I'll be able to come back and report.
It's the great equalizer.
That's impressive. He played it cool like he typically does. We talked about how he got a 56 in Madden, which we thought was just dumb. Did you ever have a Madden rating, one that you didn't like? Did that happen to you?
I don't think so. I don't think they even knew who I was, probably. Listen, I wasn't even a big Madden player, unfortunately. I was always more of the NCAA, EA Sports type guy.
Yes.
But, that, of course, went away. But it's funny. We actually had dinner with him last night. We were chatting. Somebody else brought it up at dinner, and how it was a big joke, and he was just brushed it off. He's like, listen, I don't care. He's pretty focused on getting ready. He returns this week to New Orleans, and he's got his conditioning test and then full swing into camp. So he's ready to rock and roll.
He was listed as one of the secret weapons, according to Bleacher Report, for this upcoming NFL season. We're wondering who the secret weapon is going to be for BYU football, David. Who's the secret weapon guy that's going to help the Cougars go next level?
I'm going to stay in the quarterback position, and I think you're going to see some glimpses of some Jaron Hall out there. I think you'll see some replication of what Taysom's done in New Orleans. I think you might see Jaron getting some playing time and switching things up a little bit and giving different looks. Because if you look at it, you got two mobile, athletic quarterbacks with Zach and Jaron. If you put them on the field at the same time, there's a lot of trickery, a lot of misdirection, a lot of stuff that keeps defensive coordinators on their heels a little bit. So. And he's just a pure athlete. We've seen him with baseball, and we see him out there, during spring, et cetera. I think he's got the ability to kind of open up that offense a little bit and throw in a whole different wrinkle.
Yeah, it's certainly intriguing. He's so good. It's like, okay, how do we use him? Yet how do we make sure he's still ready to go should he need to come in, right, as the quarterback? How many ifs is BYU away from a 10-win season, David? What do you think? I
think you're two ifs away.
That's it?
I think you're only two. Listen, one of them being health, right? This September schedule / August is just so brutal that if BYU can survive August, September with all their starters still intact, I think, you're not going to have a 12-win season, but, potentially a 10-win or a good season. 10 wins is still pretty lofty with the schedule. And I think the other key component is the run game. I think the run game is so crucial. Yes, Zach has a fantastic arm. He's able to create, get outside the pocket, and buy some time. But you've got to consistently have a good running game. And you look back at mentioning Taysom. You look back at Taysom, Jamal Williams. I mean, one of the best backs in BYU history. And the reason that offense was successful was because of a guy like Jamal that was able to take that weight off the shoulders of Taysom. And so, I think the run game and staying healthy is key. Because, listen, it's BYU, we don't have the best depth, right? I mean, this is something that we struggle with going against these P5s is we don't have the depth that they have. I think our starters line up well with every P5 team we'll face this year. But our depth, I think, is where it starts to drop off. And so if we have guys start getting nicked up and get injured, I think that's where this team will start to really struggle when you've got freshmen and sophomores coming in and getting, playing time whenever some of these upperclassmen get injured. So fingers crossed, no injuries. Of course, they're going to happen, but you hope you can just limit them and, that your starters get out there and ball out.
BYUtv sports analyst, football expert David Nixon with us on BYU Sports Nation. Fall camp opens in a week and a half. Hard to believe. But what should players be focused on in the final 9 days before fall camp officially begins?
Absolutely nothing. These days, you've got to get away from the game. I'm telling you, these guys have been grinding since the bowl game, really. Off-season workouts, spring ball. And then, of course, you had the off-season workouts since school got out. And, they've been in school as well, summer school. But this last week and a half, usually the last 2 weeks, you literally just want to get away. You got to get away from the game. You got to clear your mind. You got to get your body rested up because you want to be, full energy and full health mode going into fall camp. But this is the time you just veg and leave. I remember my senior season, I went overseas for a couple trips just to get away because you need it. You mentally, physically, you need it emotionally. You need that rest. And so hopefully these guys are getting some R&R and maybe getting some trips in. Because listen, here in a week and a half, it gets real, and everyone recognizes that. And so, this is your last opportunity to get away. And then listen, there's gonna be plenty of time to focus here during fall camp. I mean, you're in there grinding every day, so take the time off, enjoy it, but know that week and a half, that's when you strap on the pads and start going.
Who will be the breakout star we're not talking about right now?
I think a guy that continues to fly underneath the radar a little bit is Zane Anderson. I mean, this is a player that had a great year until he got injured. But I think because he got injured, everyone kind of has moved on a little bit in a sense and kind of looked at the other guys returning. But I expect Zane to have a breakout senior year. I mean, this is a guy that was on, scouts draft boards, and we're talking about him. I talked to a couple scouts about him. And while he was still a little undersized, they loved the way he moved. And so I think he's one of those underrated guys that I think will surprise a lot of people. I think Lysa Tuyaki will use him as a really important tool in his defense to kind of use his versatility to move him around on that defense side of the ball and put him in great position to make plays. And so I'm looking for a big year from Zane. I think his senior leadership will also be very crucial with this younger linebacker core. And be that leader on the defense side of the unit.
Former BYU and NFL linebacker David Nixon on BYU Sports Nation. David, true or false, the BYU defense as a unit is better than the BYU offense as a whole?
Oh, I mean, I think you have to go with true in the sense that this offense is still not proven. I mean, you talk about Zach coming in for his sophomore season. Now teams will be able to game plan and scheme against him. They'll be prepared for him. I think this defense unit has a lot of playmakers that have proven themselves. Once again, this secondary, you never would think you'd be able to say this, but I think the strength of this BYU defense is the secondary right now. You got a lot of veteran guys back there that have had some playing time. And then, of course, you got Kyrus Tonga, the big anchor up front. So I think this BYU defense is solid. The question is, can they gel together? Can that leadership emerge and really just make sure they're a cohesive unit? That's the thing I'm most interested in seeing. But this offense, I think there's a lot of guys that want to prove something on that offensive side of the ball. I think they've been overlooked a little bit as well, and I think they recognize that. And I think they're going to come out pretty hungry.
Who's the most underrated defender right now?
Listen, I love Diane Gwoluku. I think he's a ball player. And people would probably say he's not underrated, but I think he's that ball hawk. And when I say underrated, because I think his leadership is going to be key this year. You've heard the word leadership from me a few times now, but if you look back at the years past, I think that's something this BYU team has struggled with, is really finding their identity and having that true leader. And I think that's what they've got to get back. You look back at our days, we had the Cameron Jensens, the John Becks of the world. These were solid leaders that everyone looked up to. And I think that's something that the BYU teams in the last few years have been lacking, and it showed in the results, right? And so I think a guy like Diane, while, yes, his on-field play is well documented, I think his leadership is something that's a little bit underrated. I think guys need to look up to, and he needs to step up. And so I look to him. But, I think Isaiah Kafusi, there's just a lot of ball players on that side of the ball that I look to make, hopefully make a big contribution. And, this offense is going to need a solid defense to put them in good field position and put them in good situations in order for them to succeed.
Again, 9 days away from camp opening for BYU football.
Oh.
What's your biggest question mark as camp approaches?
I think for me, listen, the offensive line, it goes to the opposite side of the ball. And I think it's just this run game, and I alluded to that earlier. I think it truly is the run game and making sure that we've got BYU's got a potent run game. And I think it all is going to boil down to that. Because if BYU doesn't, if they struggle, getting 3-4 yards a pop, then that's a lot of weight that's going to be on Zach's shoulders. And it's tough. It's tough as a quarterback to know you have to complete, those 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8s. Those are tough. But I think the good thing is you've got the you've got a strong offensive line that's going to be able to create some holes for these running backs. But hopefully they can just take advantage of them. It's been fun watching the videos from Lopini Katoa on Twitter and seeing him. He looks shifty and agile, and Tyson Williams, excited to see how he can come out and contribute. There's a lot of intriguing storylines going into this fall camp. I think that's why all BYU fans are so excited because, listen, we've got a month. You've got a month to get your ducks in a row, and then it's game time, game one of the season.
Would you take Matt Bushman or the field for leading receiver by yards?
Oof. I mean, I would probably take the field in the sense that if Moroni can come back and be full strength and be full speed, I think you're going to see the dual tight end sets. I think Moroni will take some of those catches, and then potentially a Gunnar Romney or one of these guys can step up and be a go-to. So Talon Shomway, I'd probably take the field, but listen, Matt Bushman, I think he'll have a huge year. He's a big target. I think he's created a strong relationship there with Zach. And once again, going back to the old days of two great tight ends. I mean, you look at Chad Lewis, Tuamili, you look at Dennis Pitta, you look at Andrew George. I mean,
who?
Anytime you've got two tight end sets that you can put out there and get those mismatches, it's a great advantage. So hopefully, Matt Bush can pull through as well as Moroni, and then of course the receivers got to step and make some plays as well.
Yeah, the thing I'm struggling with is it a good thing if Matt Bushman isn't the leading receiver for BYU?
I think it is. I think once again, if you can distribute the ball, of course you want him to have catches, and we'd love for him to be. But at the same time, if you can have a burner on the outside, the receiver can come up and stretch the field vertically and catch the long ball. That's what you hope for. The tight ends, you want them to be your security pocket, your security blanket, in the sense that those are your checkdowns, 5, 6, 7, 10 yards. But you need guys that are catching 20, 30-yard bombs because once again, that makes the defense respect that deep ball, which then opens up the middle and the short passing game. So, you want your tight ends to have, 500, 600, 700 yards on the year, but you want some receivers over that 1,000-yard mark for sure.
David, good stuff, man. Good luck convincing Taysom Hill to use his driver to equalize your golf game this afternoon.
Yeah, fingers crossed, guys.
Thanks, Dave.